It's the Amoeba People. It's the Amoeba People. The Amoeba People.
Hello again, and welcome everyone to the Amoeba People Podcast, the show where science and music collide. I'm your host, Ray Hedgepeth, the singer-guitarist of the intergalactically nerdy science rock band, the Amoeba People. Welcome to our next installment of the Amoeba People Audio Cartoon, which tells the story of our adventures across space and time to learn about the science of planet Earth. In today's episode, episode 8, we travel back in time to visit Mary Anning. Yes, the famed paleontologist and fossil collector. What a blast it was being able to travel back in time and also across the ocean to Lyme Regis to visit her. It was truly an amazing experience, as you will hear. Hey, we also have some bonus content today. After the audio cartoon, we're going to be sharing my interview with paleontologist Cam Muskelly. I interviewed him for our radio show episode about fossil hunting in your own backyard, your hometown, and I'm thrilled to share that interview with you guys here on the podcast. It's a really, really fun interview, and he's a really fascinating self-taught paleontologist, much like Mary Anning. Now, before we proceed with the episode, we'd like to ask you to give the Amoeba People podcast a rating on whatever podcast platform you use. We can really use your help getting the word out about our show, and every time you give it a rating, it makes other people more aware of it. And while you're at it, if you can write us a review about how much you love the show, that helps us even more. We want to bring this podcast to more and more people, and with your help, we can do it. And also, be sure to visit our website and drop us a line, theamoebapeople.com. Pick up an Amoeba People t-shirt while you're at it. And you can also contribute to our Patreon. There's a link on our website to our Patreon page if you'd like to support this podcast and our music financially. Okay, without further ado, to-do, or whoop-de-doo, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our next installment of the Amoeba People Audio Cartoon.
For decades, humans have transmitted radio wave signals deep into space. Little did they know advanced amoebic life forms on the planet Crouton received these transmissions with great wonder and curiosity. The Croutonian Council voted to send their musical ambassadors on an expedition to this distant world to investigate. These are the scientific and musical adventures of the Amoeba People.
Episode 8, She Sells Seashells.
In our last exciting episode of the Amoeba People audio cartoon, the Meebs used the transmortifier to bring dead scientist Alfred Wegener back to life. Their song about him, Continental Drift, became an immediate sensation on their home planet Crouton. Meanwhile, General Gobsplotch remains imprisoned by Elon Musk at the SpaceX facility, meticulously devising a plan for escape. Back at the M51 Records Laboratory, the Meebs join Dr. Hindemith and Beckford for the latest installment of Dr. Hindemith's nightly Important Figures in Science lecture series.
You know, I appreciate you attending tonight's presentation, Meebs. Believe me, I completely understand if you gentlemen want to postpone this installment, considering how busy you've been lately.
Thank you for your concern, Dr. Hindemith, but honestly, we're eager to learn as much as possible about your world scientists. We always look forward to receiving hours of monotone expository lecture each and every evening.
Indeed. And now that we have access to the special equipment schematics being sent from Crouton, we can expand that knowledge even further by interacting with the scientists themselves.
I'm really excited about the newest arrival, the Chronobender. With the outward appearance of a state-of-the-art phonograph record player, the Chronobender comes fully equipped with volume, treble, and bass controls, and its high-fidelity stereophonic output is sure to delight even the most discriminating audiophile. Additionally, the Chronobender facilitates time travel.
By the puffy orange vest of Marty McFly! It's a record player time machine!
Get doodly zooks. Your Croutonian engineers are practically miracle workers. The devices they design boggle the mind.
It's not called the Absurditudinal Technology Lab for nothing, that's for sure.
Well, I'm no Croutonian engineer, but I do have an invention of my own to share.
Ooh, I was hoping you were gonna do this tonight.
Beckford and Dr. Hindemith rise from their seats and walk over to a darkened corner of the cluttered, dimly lit room. Beckford flips a switch on the wall, activating a fluorescent fixture which illuminates a large, strangely shaped object covered by a blanket.
May I, sir?
Go right ahead, Beckford.
Beckford pulls off the blanket and connects a girthy power cord to an oversized wall outlet. The Amoeba people look on with curiosity as the hulking contraption shudders to life. It consists of several large black cabinets, each with a matrix of intermittently blinking multicolored LEDs on its front panel. A bulky cathode ray monitor sits on top of the cabinets, staring blankly at the Amoeba people like a motionless mechanical cyclops.
Amoeba people, meet the Selectotron 8000!
Patent pending. The Selectotron is basically the M51 Records Laboratory's digital archivist with some entertaining additional features. You see, these days, most people access the vast repository of collective human knowledge through the internet. Due to the perplexing undisclosedness of our undisclosed location here at M51, we're basically on our own as far as utilities go. Our internet connectivity is virtually non-existent, although Beckford is able to tap into a satellite link on occasion. Nice work, Beckford. With that in mind, we had to come up with a way to store all of the information we need locally on site. Fortunately, over the years, I've compiled a massive archive of microfiche, floppy disks, and mechanical hard drives chock full of information on just about any topic you can think of.
The archive really is enormous. The Selectotron is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. We're standing right above the archive right now, actually. Underneath this room is a huge subterranean warehouse containing Dr. Hindemit's collection. All of the information access is automated and connected to the Selectotron via the M51 local area network.
So the Selectotron is essentially the brain that controls the archive down below.
Exactly!
You mentioned some additional features?
Yes, there are several. One of my favorites was actually Beckford's idea. He programmed in a subroutine that will select an entry at random within user-defined parameters.
I'll demonstrate. Selectotron. I need an influential figure from the history of science. Last name starting with A.
Input received. Selection Mary Anning. Biographical summary printing. See related articles. Paleontology, geology, women in science, ichthyosaur, plesiosaur.
That'll do. Thank you, Selectotron. Excellent choice. Mary Anning was a key figure in early 19th century paleontology at a time when our understanding of the Earth's true age was just starting to develop. She made several important fossil finds which contributed to the ongoing evolution of the natural sciences. Unfortunately, due to a range of socioeconomic factors, she was excluded from the scientific community of the time and received almost no recognition of her discoveries. Her work was influential nonetheless. Some of her most important finds were ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and pterosaurs.
Oh, those must be different types of dinosaurs, like the ones in that film you showed us yesterday.
I don't fault you for thinking so, but it turns out none of those large reptiles are classified as dinosaurs. They did live during the same time as the dinosaurs, though.
Intriguing. This Mary Anning sounds like a fascinating character. Gentlemen, I think we need to put the Chronobender to use and pay her a visit. This story will surely make a great song.
Agreed. Let's get moving.
Before you rush off to 19th century England, might I suggest that you allow Beckford to assist you with some period-appropriate attire from his sizable cosplay wardrobe?
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Wait, what is cosplay?
It's a hobby of mine. Sometimes on weekends I'll dress up like people from other places and times and attend gatherings. It's a whole thing. I'm pretty sure I have 3 outfits that'll work perfect for you guys. Let's head over to my closet and get you guys set up.
After being outfitted with costumes from Beckford's cosplay collection, the Meebs gather their newly assembled time travel device, the Chronobender, and step into their trusty teleporta-potty.
Next stop, Lyme Regis.
Onward!
Moments later, the teleporta-potty appears on a cliff overlooking the southern English coast. The pre-dawn air is brisk, and the hanging fog dampens the sound of the surf churning below.
The atmosphere here in Lyme Regis is quite different from the M51 Records Laboratory's backyard in Southern California. It's quite a bit cooler and more humid, and the smell of the ocean is quite distinct.
I'm picking up significant levels of dimethyl sulfide, most likely a byproduct of the bacteria digesting phytoplankton in the saltwater. It just so happens to be one of the compounds we detected after Mr. Herzog used the teleporta potty just before we returned from Nepal.
The bouquet of the ocean breeze is considerably less pungent, to be sure. In fact, I'd say it's quite pleasant.
Agreed.
Yes.
Now that the teleporta potty has done its job, let's set the chronobender to, say, 1833 and visit Mary Anning. The amoeba people carefully place the chronobender on the dewy grass. After some quick calculations and adjustments, they each crouch down and place a hand on the turntable time machine. The Meebs experience a brief, disorienting blur as they travel through time to October 27th, 1833 at 9:46 a.m.
Wow, it was pretty dark when we left present-day Lyme Regis, but it seems like we're quite a bit closer to the edge of this cliff.
The difference may be due to almost 200 years of erosion. Judging from the amount of debris down on the beach, it looks as though parts of the rock face periodically fall away. I wouldn't want to be down below when that happens. This constant erosion must be what makes this such a great place to find fossils.
Hold on, Meebs. I see a young woman and a dog down below. She seems to be looking for something at the foot of the cliff.
That has to be Mary Anning. How do we get to the bottom from here?
We might be able to go down this way.
The Meebs scramble down a steep ravine to the rocky shore.
Hello? Hello? Hey! You best take care where you're stepping, or you might trigger a landslide and bury yourselves, or worse, the vertebrae I've been searching for all morning.
Mary Anning?
The same. And who might you peculiarly clad gentlemen be?
Is our clothing not period appropriate? I thought these ruffles might be a bit much. You know, Beckford assured me that...
Mary Anning, we are the Amoeba People.
We're musical ambassadors from the planet.
Mr. Jordan.
We've come a long way to talk to you today.
Musical ambassadors, you say? You know, I've discovered a lot of strange things on these shores, but never any ambassadors, musical or otherwise. Oh my, Trey seems to like you anyway.
We've recently learned a bit about your work and decided to pay you a visit to learn more.
We'd love to turn your story into a song. Would you mind helping us with that?
I found a lot of bones in my day, but alas, I don't have a single musical bone in my body. Oh, I've made a paleo pun. Sorry, lads.
That's all right. Perhaps you can share some of your perspective with us. For instance, we'd love to know more about your interaction with the scientific community.
Oh, the Geological Society of London, do you mean? The fancy boys harumping and shuffling papers about while they sit on their cushioned seats in Somerset House? The gentlemen who drink their tea with raised pinkies while I'm out here digging through detritus for a few pence worth of ammonites to put food on the table? The fellows who are quick to consult Mary Anning for their research, but suddenly get a bit shy when it comes to giving me the recognition I am due? That scientific community, do you mean?
Well, that sounds like a rather unbalanced arrangement.
Isn't it?
Why can't you participate in the Geological Society?
No, the reasons are as numerous and inflexible as the pile of coprolites in that basket over there. You see, I'm fundamentally different from those blokes in several disqualifying ways. Firstly, I'm not an upper-class Londoner. I'm a country lass from Lyme, born to a family of modest means. Secondly, I'm not a member of the Church of England. My father, God rest his soul, raised us in the Congregationalist tradition. Thirdly, I didn't have the luxury of attending any of the world's greatest universities for my education. In order to learn about biology and geology, I had to teach myself. And finally, members of the fairer sex are strictly prohibited from participation in the Geological Society of London.
I'm not sure I quite follow.
I can't join because I'm a bloody woman.
Oh, yes, got it.
Oh, that
Okay.
makes sense.
Of course.
I get it.
Based on what we know about the significance of your discoveries, it seems fair to say that the Geologic Society has done itself a disservice by excluding you from its membership, especially for such superficial reasons.
You lads must be from far away indeed. That's just how the world works today, I'm afraid. In the meantime, I'll just keep doing my work. Say, while you're here, make yourselves useful and find me a few ammonites and belemnites. The tourists love those.
I'm not sure if this is one of those things, but I think I found something pretty big over here. It's stuck, though. Help me out, guys.
Be careful, lads. It looks like you've got hold of a plesiosaur jawbone. Don't break it.
As the amoeba people struggled to extract the jawbone from the exposed Mesozoic stratigraphy, the brittle cliffside begins to crumble.
Look out! Look out, Mary!
Thanks to their exceptional Croutonian reflexes and dexterity, the Meebs are able to quickly evade the landslide and escape to safety. Sadly, not everyone on the beach is quite as fortunate.
Oh, my leg. Oh, I don't think it's broken. I can move it. A bit of blood. But I've certainly lost a shoe. You blundering buffoons. I told you to be careful. Oh, where's Trey? Trey! Here, boy, here. Where's my boy?
I saw your dog at the foot of the cliff when the rocks started falling, and I don't think he made it out in time.
What? Trey! No!
Enraged by the loss of her dutiful canine companion Trey, Mary Anning begins hurling fist-sized rocks at the amoeba people.
You absolute imbeciles!
Gentlemen, this seems like an opportune time to return to present-day Lyme Regis. Let's get back up to the Chronobender before Mary Anning turns us into mashed meebs.
The amoeba people quickly ascend the steep ravine to the top of the cliff while enduring an onslaught of stone projectiles and 19th century insults from the injured and agitated Mary Anning.
You pay for this, all of you!
The Chronobender returns the amoeba people to present-day Lyme Regis, a few hours after their initial departure. The morning sun has cleared away the fog, and the seaside town is slowly coming to life.
That didn't exactly go as planned.
Yes, the rock slide was tragic indeed. Maybe all we can do now is honor Mary Anning in a song. Let's get back to M51 and get to work.
Guys, I think someone's inside the teleporter potty.
Just a moment. I'll be out directly. All right, me handsomes. It's all yours.
Where be to?
Yeah, you must be here for Mary Anning Day. Looks like you're really dressed up for the occasion.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I'm sorry, though. You said it's Mary Anning Day?
Right, yeah. Each year, the Lyme Regis Museum celebrates the birth of Lyme's own world-famous paleontologist. There'll be a lot of goings on starting later this morning. And I'll be actually playing some music for the attendees. The stage should be arriving any time now.
You don't say. We're musicians ourselves, and we've come to Lyme Regis to gather information for a song about Mary Anning.
Oh, Gert Lush. Perhaps you'd care to hear one of my Mary Anning tunes.
We'd be delighted. Do you mind if we record you?
Later that day on planet Crouton, in the Absurditudinal Technology Labs, 27 light-years from Earth, the Quartermaster and Dr. Beeple are processing some troubling information they've received via hyperbolink upload.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Q, but this log file shows that General Gobsplotch's ship has remained in a stationary position on Earth for several days. But I'm also seeing that its structure and systems are sustaining increased amounts of damage almost continuously. It looks as though the ship's self-repair system has been disabled somehow. It's almost as though...
The ship is being systematically disassembled. Precisely, Doctor. Given what the amoeba people told us about the group of Earthlings who stole their ship, it seems likely that a similar scenario has resulted in the capture of the General's ship. Based on the data we have, I fear the ship will be irreversibly damaged before long.
We can't have the Amoeba People going anywhere near this facility, lest they put themselves in even more danger. And we don't have any way to send help from Crouton in time. What can we possibly do?
I'm sending some instructions to the ship's computer that may help salvage the situation. As long as the hyperbolink holds for just a few more moments.
Well, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Quartermaster, but we're receiving another hyperbolink transmission from Earth.
Ah, the Amoeba People. Let's hope they've managed to stay out of trouble.
Greetings, Dr. Beeple. The schematics you've been sending us have been utilized with great success. Please extend our gratitude to the engineers at the Absurditudinal Labs. Their ingenuity is second to none. The song we are enclosing in this transmission is a field recording from the center of southern England's Jurassic coast, where coastal erosion has exposed Mesozoic stratigraphy, entombing fossilized plant and animal life from millions of years ago.
Yes! Who's the one who sells the shells? A shell she found on by the shore. She's the one who sells the shells. Yes, she's the seashell seller of lore. You'd know her better if they had let her enroll at Oxford or Cambridge, perhaps. But this seasheller wasn't a feller, and therefore she couldn't attend with the chaps. Who's the one who sells the shells? A shell she found on by the shore. She's the one who sells the shells. Yes, she's the seashell seller of lore. You'd know her better if they had let her enroll at Oxford or Cambridge, perhaps. But this seasheller wasn't a feller, and therefore she couldn't attend with the chaps. Who's the one who sells the shells she found out by the shore. She's the one who sells the shells. She's the seashell seller of lore. You know her better if they had let her enroll at Oxford or Cambridge, perhaps. But this seasheller wasn't a feather, and therefore she couldn't attend with the chaps. Who's the one who sells the shells she found out by the shore? She's the one who sells the shells. She's the seashell seller of lore. You know her better if they had let her enroll at Oxford or Cambridge, perhaps. But this seasheller wasn't a feather, and therefore she couldn't attend with the chaps.
That's what I'm talking about.
Will the Amoeba People finally make contact with General Gobsplotch on Earth? Will General Gobsplotch and his meebling lackey escape the dastardly clutches of Elon Musk? Will Elon Musk, in fact, harvest the Croutonian technology of General Gobsplotch's ship? The even less likely. All of these questions might not be answered on the next episode, but boy, you should tune in to find out anyway. Next time on the Amoeba People Audio Cartoon. Audio Cartoon is a production of M51 Records and was written, produced, and edited by Ryan Mosley. Story by Ryan Mosley and Ray Hedgepeth. Voices today, the incredible Lisa Bodie Hurd played the part of Mary Anning. Thank you so much, Lisa, for giving such life to that amazing character. And also Megan O'Toole played the part of the Mary Anning enthusiast at Lyme Regis. And she sings the lead vocal on our Mary Anning song, which you can find on our album, The Fossil Record. And of course, all the other voices are by Dustin Jordan, Ryan Mosley, and Ray Hedgepeth. All music is written and performed by your pals, the Amoeba People. Now, before we share my interview with paleontologist Cam Muskelly, which is sort of like bonus content here on the podcast, it's from our radio show, the Amoeba People Radio Hour on KLBP, Long Beach Public Radio. Before I share that interview with you guys, we have a very special word from an intergalactic sponsor of the Amoeba People Podcast.
Are you looking for a new adventure in life? Are you ready to be part of something bigger, much bigger than you and your single-celled self? Hyperbole Enterprises is now hiring for 3, 5, and 10-year journeys to Imitation Bacon Bit, also known as IBB. You'll learn the value of teamwork as you mine the rarest of all substances in the star system, Hyperbolium, and gain the reward of knowing that your hard work is benefiting all of Crouton. Apply today at your nearest Hyperbole Enterprises outpost.
With the way social media sites have become such hostile environments lately, it's easy to forget that they can still be places of discovery, where you can stumble across someone's YouTube channel and find them sharing their passion in such an honest and pure way that they end up bringing the rest of us along for the ride. That's what happened to me when a friend turned me on to the paleontology videos of our guest today, self-taught scientist Cam Muskelly, who has been passionate about dinosaurs and fossils for as far back as he can remember. And one of the things I love the most about his videos is that he turns the small room where he shoots them into a cabinet of wonders. And this idea has always appealed to me, to take what you have, to embrace the limitations of your environment, to fill it with your passion and make something amazing with it. I've always found that incredibly inspiring, and Cam is truly an inspiration. Not only is he a young, black, self-taught scientist working outside of academia in a field where black scientists comprise only 1% of the jobs in the earth sciences. That statistic, by the way, was pulled from the website blackgeoscientist.com, which has the hilarious tagline, "Geology isn't just for crazy white people." But in addition to all of this, Cam has autism, and though he endured endless bullying when he was young as a result of his autism and his undying love of fossils, he sees his autism as a gift, something that has helped propel him along the path of scientific inquiry and discovery. He spoke to me recently via Zoom from his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, and I began by asking him about his earliest experiences with fossils.
I lived in an area where there weren't any fossils. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's all pretty much metamorphic and igneous rock. So I didn't have any of those, outcrops or any of those opportunities where I could find fossils or that were available at the time. But I did go to museums. The first museum that I did go to was the Fernbank Museum of Natural History, which is located in Decatur, Georgia. And that had just giant skeletons of dinosaurs. The two main dinosaurs that were in that museum were one called a Giganotosaurus, which is a carnivorous dinosaur, and then there's one called Argentinosaurus, which is a large sauropod dinosaur. Both dinosaurs come from Argentina, the Cretaceous rocks of Argentina. And so I remember looking up at those skeletons and just lost. I was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. I didn't know things like this could exist. I didn't know creatures like this could, walked on our planet. And it made you really feel small. I will tell you that. It was an incredible sight to see. And I told my mother, Mom, I want to be a paleontologist when I grow up. Mm-hmm. And after that, experience, I remember being interested in fossils. I knew what fossils were, but I've never seen a fossil before. I didn't know where you can find fossils, and I didn't know, what a fossil felt like. I just saw it in pictures and books and in TV shows. So I had a teacher at the time. Every time I was on my good behavior when I was in second grade, she would pull out a drawer. I would go down to a teacher's classroom, and she had her personal fossil collection. So I would go down to her classroom, and she would pull out drawers that were just loaded with fossils. She had plant fossils. She had trilobites. I remember going to my teacher saying I held dinosaur poop because there was coprolite in there. And so after she pulled out the drawer, she actually gave me a fossil. It was actually a crinoid stem. So people may not know what crinoids are. They're echinoderms. They're related to starfish and things like that. And she gave me a section of a crinoid stem that comes from the Fort Payne Formation in Tennessee or Alabama. And I still have that fossil to this day. It's one of those moments I actually have a fossil. This is an organism or a piece of an organism that lived hundreds of millions of years ago, and I'm holding it in my hand. The fossil's over 340 million years old. So having that opportunity to see fossils for the first time because I was interested in dinosaurs and paleontology really solidified my passion for things like that.
So it was clear to Cam from a very, very young age what he wanted to do with his life. But being who he is and where he is from, he found as he began to pursue this, it was actually quite difficult finding opportunities where he could pursue his one true love.
Since becoming more active in the sciences and becoming more active in paleontology and geology, I've actually seen a very few African Americans who are really interested in science. The only problem is they don't have those opportunities. I think opportunities is one of the it's the number one thing, especially the places where I live in Atlanta, Georgia. There aren't that many places where geology or paleontology or the sciences are available for everybody to enjoy and learn and love. Mm-hmm. They cut geology programs. They had a little geology program in high schools, and they cut those programs because they thought they weren't they didn't need geology programs. And there were a few geology programs at my high school, and unfortunately they were set aside for, for curricular activities for people who, may fail a class or things like that. And that's something that is, I think geology is such an important thing to have, because it tells us a lot about the history of our planet and where the future of our planet lies. And so the cutting of a lot of extracurricular activities and in school activities is really, really is one of the main things that I think is a disadvantage for people of color who want to go into the sciences. So large opportunities like that are not as well known in a lot of places of where I live. And another thing is our perception on what a scientist looks like. A lot of people think that it's that Einstein-looking guy, the frizzy hair, the test tubes, the lab coat. And when I get asked, oh, you're a paleontologist, it's like, yeah. And there are people who sound surprised because they're not used to seeing an African-American scientist. They're not used to seeing an African-American paleontologist. I saw something on Twitter the other day of a poll that came out. African-American paleontologists make up 1% of the field. And I didn't know how to respond to that, because that's such an incredibly low number. And I think that the Caucasian majority was 75 or 73%. And, you have African Americans at the very low in that particular field of science. Even in the geological sciences, we are starting to decrease in the diversity. There are programs that are starting to come up. But again, we have we have a lot of work to look forward to in order to diversify the fields of sciences.
At the outset, I mentioned Cam's videos and how he films them in his own room, what I call Cam's Cabinet of Wonders. But he also has a number of videos with him out and about in areas very close to home. We often think of fossil hunting as something set aside for the iconic Western U.S. or, the Badlands where the first T-Rex was discovered, but we rarely see people just out in their own backyard seeing what discoveries can be made close to wherever you live. So I asked him if he found it important to explore one's own surroundings in this way.
Yes, it's very, very important. You have this perception in paleontology where, dinosaurs and things like that are found, in Montana and all the western part of the United States. But there's so much amazing fossils. It really depends on the geology of where you are, because there's some states that don't have as much of a diverse geological record than other states do. So you definitely need to look at the geology of where you are, because you may be in a place where fossils aren't found because you don't live in the right rocks or the right age of rocks where fossils are found. But nevertheless, I think it's important to understand where you live and the geology of where you live, because there are fossils there. I have never been out in the West. I have never collected any dinosaur fossils, but I have collected things from the age of the dinosaurs. I have collected from the Ripley and the Demopolis chalk formations, which is Cretaceous in age. I have collected some large oyster shells and things like that from the time of the dinosaurs. Mainly what I have collected, though, and focused a lot of my time on are Paleozoic fossils. So these are rock deposits, or these are fossils older than the dinosaurs. They go back around 541 and end 252 or 245 million years ago during the Permian. And mainly the fossils that I look at are things from the Carboniferous period, the lower portion of the Carboniferous, which is about 323 to 321 million years old. And I collect a lot of the invertebrate fossils that come from Alabama and things like in Tennessee. I've collected fossil trilobites from Georgia. They're about 497 million years old from the upper portion of the Cambrian period. And I've collected all types of different fossils. And I think people need to understand and learn more about that. The geological record is very interesting. It's very complex. And you may even live in an area where down in your creek bed, you'll find things like fossils. You'll find, ancient shells that suggest that you were under an ancient ocean, 100 million years ago. Or you may find petrified wood, or you may find like a trace fossil or something. Those are very important for people to understand that the Earth has always been changing, that it has not look the same as it is today. Continents have changed. The climate has changed. And for us to understand that and for us to look at fossils and begin to interpret the history of the Earth by just using fossil specimens around your community is, I think, very important to understand and do.
And it was interesting because right when he began to talk about how important it is to dig for fossils and look for things right where you are in your own backyard, he immediately brought up a TV show that I've seen a lot of scientists dissing lately.
And there was just a program out there about digging dinosaurs and things like that came out. And there was a bit of a talk about commercial paleontology. My focus was not on that. It was the perception of what science is and how science is being portrayed in media and in movies and things like that. And I think this show did really, really poorly on trying to see, what paleontology is, because paleontology isn't about going out in the field digging up dinosaurs. It's about understanding and piecing together the entire history of the Earth through the rocks and fossils and what they can tell and what are locked inside of the specimens themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that people have this perception of this Alan Grant, Indiana Jones type perception on what sciences are, what paleontology is, and who can be involved in paleontology.
Okay, so we won't dignify that show by mentioning its name, but I do know that scientists online have been throwing a lot of shade at this program, and their main argument is that exactly what Cam was saying, it really should be about discovery and increasing our picture and understanding of the past, not commercial interest, not money, not fame, which it seems to be to a lot of people that's kind of the purpose of that particular program. So let me recommend a different program that I can name, Prehistoric Road Trip, with the delightful science communicator Emily Grassley. It's a fantastic series, and scientists are totally touting its great character and wit, as well as its realistic depiction of what scientists do. So you can find it on pbs.org. Emily Grassley, she's like the writer, producer, and she hosts it. I mean, she's amazing. So check it out, Prehistoric Road Trip on pbs.org. It's really terrific. Okay, back to my interview with Cam Muskelly. I'm a fan of his videos, and I've been watching him in his room, what I call the Cabinet of Wonders, Cam's Cabinet of Wonders. And so I asked him, hey, would you give me a tour and tell me what all these posters are and all these cool things you have?
So here, you probably will be able to see here, this is the geological map of Alabama here.
Oh, okay.
And right over here is like the Grand Canyon, the cross-section of the Grand Canyon through the layers of the Grand Canyon in Colorado. And I think over here what you'll probably see is a trilobite fossil that was found in Georgia. That was shale split open. You'll see the positive and the negative of a trilobite. Mm-hmm. I think up here, you probably can't see it here. But up here is kind of like a geological, paleogeographical map of about 1 billion years ago. Then I got a couple of posters and diagrams and things like that, like fossil specimens and things like that. So I'm sciencing out my room. This is not even half. I have lots and lots of posters and just everything on my wall.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Well, thank you, Ray, for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fantastic talking with you.
Again, taking what's available and making the most of it, turning it into something awesome by infusing it with passion. That is Cam Muskelly in a nutshell. My thanks to Cam for being our guest on the show today. Check out his YouTube page, which is called Paleo 101, for some delightful videos that are chock full of incredible information and some great fossils. And hopefully after watching some of Cam's videos, you'll want to get out there and see what's close to your hometown, or even see what wonders you might find in your own backyard. Thanks again for listening to the Amoeba People Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our show today, and be sure to give us a rating and write us a review, will you? Until next time, everyone, onward!
It's the Amoeba People.